Hello, today is the 9th of January 2025. As always, we'll start with our disclaimer, we'll go over our calls and then make our predictions. This is my trading plan for Friday. Friday is January 10th, 2025. Please remember that my calls can be completely wrong and any trade you make should be made at your own risk. Call for the pattern on Wednesday with the early high, which is this, and Friday should be the pattern with the early low. We had a target of 59.3865, and that did not print, so that's a miss. We'll just have to add it to the list. It should still print at some point, which it's telling us eventually this drop is going to recover. But for right now, that's a failed target, which we have to add to the list. This is just a review of what we said. We have signs of capitulation, and I think that's still true. During the day, we got an ultimate buy signal that we printed the minimum target immediately, but there was a lower target as well, and that also printed. All these F's mark false moves that the system says will retrace, and that's already happened. This is Tom DeMark's TDST line. Once again, there's support at and going to one bar under the line. So if you do have a big drop on Friday and futures already are down about 15 handles or so as I'm recording this, just remember you're dropping into a support area. And even though we had a DeMark sell signal here, if we were going to have a total collapse, you really should have seen something within 3 days. And the fact that it took longer than 3 days means not that we're not going to drop, that's already happened, but it's not going to be a total collapse according to his criteria. Well, this is the count I've been using. We have this as wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 in magenta. We're now correcting, and a logical place for the correction to end is in the fourth wave of lesser degree, which is here. It's not really forced, but it's one of the common places. So if we do drop, just remember you're dropping into support. We still have to drop 300 handles from this line. That would put us in the same area if that happens on Friday. It isn't a stop and reverse. It's a target. But it would mean that the downside pressure from the break has been satisfied. Well, this is the main count I've been using. It certainly isn't the only count, but it has balance of the waves around the 5790 cash area. And even though it isn't the only count, that's a logical place to look for support from this pattern as well. It would be nice if this were the right count. We had 5 waves down. He said there was a possible low, but we've made an ABC since then. I sure would like it if that were the right count, because if that's black A and that's black B, and if C equals A, we'd be in the 5790s if that works, and that would be close enough for me. Hasn't happened yet. I'm not certain it's the only count, but if we drop, it's a place to look for support. Well, Friday's pattern has the early low, which doesn't tell us where we open. The unemployment report comes out before the open. I just can't predict the response to such reports with a sufficient degree of accuracy. For the short term, sentiment indicators predict we have more of a decline to come. We still haven't dropped those 300 handles from the break of Tom DeMark's TD line, and my preferred wave count, which isn't the only valid count, calls for a drop to around 57.90 cash. But intermediate term, sentiment indicators are close to calling a bottom, and by the time I get this week's indicators, they might have already called one. There's support from the TDST line. Secondary indicators have been slowly improving as the market drops, and don't forget we'll also be in a fourth wave of lesser degree if there's a drop. January 10th is Woodson's turn date. I can't say with any degree of confidence what will happen on Friday. I just can't. But if, this is a plan now, if we have a high volume drop to the 57.90 area, basis cash could well mark a bottom worth trading from the long side. So I'm not saying with any degree of confidence that will happen. I don't know. But if that happens, if we have a big volume drop to 57.90, which is certainly plausible, if that happens, I think there's a good chance that marks the end of this leg of the decline. And that's today's call.